Okay, so hi everybody. My name is Ryan Headley. I am 1/3 of the System.debug live podcast, and I'm just going to chat here really quickly about something that's coming out. I don't believe it is maybe even this summer, but it's on its way, and it's called the Lightning Data Service. Now, I created a component on an application that I wrote that I use to kind of manage my software projects, and pay no attention to the fields on the screen currently. It's all just a bunch of bunk data and messing around with stuff. But anyway, basically what it is I have this project management piece of software that I've written, and as I'm in meetings or talking to somebody about projects and they come up with ideas for features, I have to add features to the project itself so I can get this feature list, as you can see down here. And I got tired of having to go to the related list all the time to create new ones, and I thought, you know what, if I could just do this really quickly with my own component while I'm on the parent records page, that would be great. So I just wrote a component that allows me to create a child record on that parent's page simply by just entering a form, clicking save, and I could do that over and over again. Something to note is that in spring 17, they have introduced a component that does exactly what mine does, called related record, and you can drag those onto record pages and stuff. But luckily, my talk really here isn't about that component. It's more about how this component is actually saving its data to the server. So when I come in here and I can type a test feature name, test feature 1, some description here, and I click save, what's going to happen is this goes ahead and saves the record to the parent record. And I'm going to close this after it fires a toast. And there we go. You can see that I have test feature 1 sitting there. It has a side benefit here. The component that I wrote also allows me to do this in the form of a lightning quick action. So test quick action, test here. I can save that, and that fires the toast. And then once the toast has been fired, I go ahead and I close my window, and I can see that the quick action also shows up down here. So it refreshes the page and everything. But again, Spring 17 is coming out with a preview, or not a preview, an actual functional related record component. So what I really want to focus on, though, is the fact that what you just saw does not use any Apex whatsoever. What you just saw uses something known as the Lightning Data Service, and I want to show you that really briefly here. If you're not familiar with Lightning components, I'm not going to bother going into how I built this component and everything. What I would just want to zero in on is this little section here called Force Record Preview. Now, when this comes out into full-on production-ready status, I believe it will just be called force.record. But basically, it's just another Lightning component that you can set up to say, hey, I'm going to be using this object in my component, and it talks to JavaScript on the back end and allows you to do your CRUD operations directly in your JavaScript controllers rather than doing it via Apex or having your JavaScript controller call out to Apex. So you give it an Aura ID, so that's how your controller is going to find out what object it is you're talking about. It's going to look at the component, find, in my case, something called feature service. It knows that my target record is going to be stored in the attribute feature up here, and it is of type feature. I'm also creating an area for any errors that come back from Lightning Data Service to store the error so I can then show it on the page as well. I'm giving it a list of fields that are on the object that I'm going to be interested in. In my case, I'm grabbing the parent object through force.hasRecordID. I'm grabbing the summary, a name, and the ID. And then I'm also putting it in edit mode, meaning I'm going to be making changes to this object. So my component loads using your standard do init and everything that you normally see here. Not really going to get into the do init portion of it, but basically it comes in and it finds the feature service and it says get new record, and I can tell it I'm getting a new feature. If I have a record type, I can pre-populate it there. I could also, at this time, if I wanted to, populate the parent project's ID by grabbing the record ID off my view. I didn't do that in this case because I was testing some other things. And then you can tell it to skip cache, etc. And when that's done, it will return basically an empty, brand new, instantiated object of feature. So when I click save on my, when I click save on my component, I go and I look at my component and I find the feature service again, and I just call save record on it. I have a save result that gets passed back when that is done, and you can inspect that for whether it's success or if it entered draft mode, which I'm not entirely sure what that is yet. I haven't really dove into that a whole lot. But it can also say incomplete, error, etc., and you can do basic actions depending on what's coming back from your save results. But inside that save result, I also am firing an event called force show toast. Now that show toast, and I never knew it was called toast before, is that little window that pops up and lets you know, hey, we've saved your record. So you're able to, inside of this save record, if it's successful, fire a toast. The last thing that I can do then is get a handle on forced refresh view. And what force refresh view does is takes all the components on the page and just refreshes them. It goes and basically does a page reload on each of those components. The trick that I ran into was my custom component wasn't clearing when I called this, and it's because I had to make sure that my custom component also handled the force refresh view action or event, and I tied it to an action. In my case, I tied it to the do init function again so that it basically reloads my component and gets me a brand new feature object to be working with. So I can save again and again and again as long as I want. But as you can see, there is not anywhere where I am calling out to Apex to do any of this. So that's all I really wanted to talk about. Lightning Data Service, it's not production ready yet. It's still kind of in developer preview. I believe when I was at Tahoe this past weekend, it is still going to be developer preview through spring 17. I don't know if we'll see it in summer yet, but it's definitely on the way. And so far, seems pretty simple to use. So hit us up if you have any questions. I'd be happy to talk to you.